so excited to be joined by Claire Pollard, head coach of the Wildcat women's tennis team. Coach, thank you so much for being here. And I know the season just got underway, but I feel like we're at a pivotal turning point with the ITA National Team Championships coming up in Stillwater. How excited are you and the rest of your team to play some tennis in a big-time tournament?
Yeah, I think we're thrilled. Like you said, I think it just has only just begun, but wow. I mean, it gets off to a big start. And, last weekend or 2 weekends ago, it was, really intense right off the bat. And to have the opportunity to go down to Stillwater and play against the very best in the country, I think we'll learn an awful lot about ourselves. I think it's great for our young players to get the experience to be in that spotlight and to feel what it's like to contend for a national championship. And it's a nice reward for our seniors and our older players who have worked hard to position ourselves back up amongst the nation's best.
You guys had a great start to the season with upset wins over NC State and Wake Forest in the regional finals. How can you build on those wins throughout the rest of the season?
I think we have a really talented roster. Our new freshman who wasn't able to get here in the fall, I knew she was going to make a big impact. How big an impact, I wasn't sure, and it's turned out to be an amazing one. When you're playing like Clarissa Hand, who is an NCAA qualifier and a seasoned junior now at 3, and we're playing a senior down at 5. I just think our doubles is really organized. It's a tough out, and I think we can play with anyone in doubles. And then we've preached to the girls about just being a tough out at all 6 spots, and that's what we did very, very successfully down in Raleigh.
Coach, the best teams in the country are going to be competing with you down in Stillwater. What does it do for your players to look across the court at some of the national powerhouses like number 1 UNC, number 2 UCLA, the list goes on and on?
Well, that's why you come to Northwestern. We preach playing the best schedule we can put together. We preach contending and being in the national spotlight. And, it's fun to not only be able to talk about it, but to actually live it this year.
Now, Coach, this is certainly not your first rodeo. You actually won this tournament back in 2009 and 2010 with the Wildcats. What are some similarities between this team in 2021 and those two teams?
Funny you ask that, because when I compare the lineups, there are an awful lot of similarities. We have Maria Musilova at 1 back then, and we have Maria Shasharina now at 1. Very similar. I actually think Shasharina's a little ahead of Musilova at this point in her development. Georgia Rose and Judy Byrne are kind of clones of each other. Sam Murray and Clarissa Hand, ton of parallels. I really think this team has a tremendous amount of parallels to them. I think our doubles point is better this year than it was then. But I think our camaraderie is getting closer to what that 2010 team had and that 29 team had. And so I think if we can keep developing that, I really think that this team can be a special one at Northwestern.
Coach, earlier this week, we got our first look at the Big Ten schedule in a really difficult conference. What are your early thoughts on Big Ten play?
Well, the Big Ten certainly threw us a tough schedule, that's for sure. I mean, we get back from Stillwater and we head straight to Nebraska and Iowa. We get Michigan home and away, which is really exciting, I think, to play, a team that's been a huge rival of ours, both here and their place will be phenomenal. To only play conference seems really a little bit of a downer, but I saw that schedule last night and I was just thrilled and excited. I think we have as tough a schedule as we couldn't possibly handle. And the fact that we were allowed to play the ITAs and the team indoors will just make it a really complete, awesome schedule full of challenges. And hopefully we can ride the waves. And I'm looking forward to Big Ten championships from this group.
Coach, do any players stand out to you, particularly as leaders or as stars, that we should really be paying attention to this tournament?
I think the secret to this team, and if you go back to that 2010-29 team, is you've got to have a group of stars. if you buy into the team being full of stars and don't need the individual limelight, then the team has a chance to be very, very special. So I hate to be boring and sort of cliche-ish, but I think we have a team full of stars, and I think that's what it's going to take to compete at the very highest level.
Well, Coach, there's nothing boring about the ITA National Tournament. Coming up on February 5th, we are so excited. Northwestern draws the Texas Longhorns first. Coach Pollard, thank you so much for being here, and good luck in Stillwater.
Thanks so much. Looking forward to it. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Jack.